3-6 Mafia.
Yeah.
Whoa, hey, yeah. Whoa,
Say what?
hey, whoa,
3-6 Mafia.
hey, whoa,
It's going down.
whoa, hey,
Y'all know what time it is. We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No BS Season 3, Episode 14. Me and Isaiah are taking tonight and looking at some fantastic NBA topics, one NFL topic, also one topic. But before we get into that, nice meat and potatoes for tonight. Isaiah, how are you doing, my friend?
Trevor, I am doing wonderful, man. Even though I had to pour honey on myself today, and a lot of viewers out there saw that video, but hey, got it done. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because I thought that when I poured the honey on myself, it was going to be sticky, it was going to be icky, and not only that, I was going to have to shave my head bald, because I don't know, why this is, but I've heard a myth or a legend that if you pour like honey or peanut butter, you get that on your hair, it's really hard to get out of, and you're gonna have to cut your hair and shave your hair just to get it out. Maybe that's gum. I don't know. Maybe I got honey confused with gum.
I think you might have confused it with gum, because I know when you get gum in your hair, you kind of have to cut it out.
Yeah.
But I think since the honey was it didn't sit on your hair for that long, it's probably easy to wash out compared to if you waited, let's say 7 hours later, and now it would be like a pain to get out of your hair.
Yeah, dude. So I was worried. That's why I didn't want to do this, thing originally, but I had to because I said it because I was so confident and I was so cocky. But I didn't want to do it because I was like, oh man, if I have honey on my hair, I'm gonna have to shave it. I don't want to go to work, with a shaved bald head. So. But once I did it, it was easy to come out. It was great. Hopefully you guys all enjoy the video. It's on the MI6 Sports Network Facebook page as well as YouTube, and also you can catch it on my my personal Facebook timeline as well. But Trevor, it's been a great Aloha Friday. Can't wait to talk about the Lakers game, talk about LeBron James's clinched or game-winning 3, and then talk about the Celtics game as well as other topics that we have tonight on our agenda. But it's going to be a great show. Can't wait for it.
Yep, I think that's perfect transition because we're going to start with the Lakers topic first. And as you saw, if those tuned into that game, the Lakers defeated the Warriors 103-100, and LeBron James came in with the clutch 3. I heard when he was shooting that ball, I think he got knocked out, and he said, I think on I saw on ESPN post, it was saying he thought he saw 3 hoops, and he said, I'm just shooting the one in the middle. So there was some type of story that happened to LeBron James' vision, but I'll go to Isaiah on recapping that night and what that means for the Los Angeles Lakers when they play your Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns in the coming days.
Yeah, first of all, I can't wait to talk about that series. It's going to be an insane series. A lot of people right now are chirping about how, the Lakers are just going to walk over the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns aren't going to pose any threat to the Los Angeles Lakers whatsoever. Folks, I've watched the Phoenix Suns this entire season. I watched my guy Devin Booker and Chris Paul play together with DeAndre Ayton and the rest of the crew in the desert this entire season. And folks, let me tell you guys this. The Phoenix Suns are no slouch. Monty Williams will have the Suns come. They will have them ready to play. They will be focused, and they will be a tough first-round test for the Los Angeles Lakers. I do believe the Lakers will get past the Phoenix Suns, but it's not going to be a sweep. It's not going to be a 5-game series. I think it's going to be a tough and tight 6-game series for this Lakers team. But going to this Lakers-Warriors game before we go into the Lakers and the Phoenix Suns, Trevor, I was at work on, I believe the game was on Tuesday. I was at work on Tuesday before this game or during this game, and I couldn't really watch it because obviously I was working for the Oakland Athletics. So I had to, there was a TV on, on a wall at the Coliseum next to my post, but I had to keep like turning back and forth from the field and also back to the wall. So I only caught like bits and pieces of it, but I went home, watched the highlights of this game, and let me tell you guys this. The Los Angeles Lakers, I was scared to death that the Lakers were going to lose. I really was, because the Lakers, they came out flat. They came out, they looked uninterested, they looked unmotivated, and they just looked like that they were a step behind the Golden State Warriors. And the Golden State Warriors, they looked like they came into this game ready. They came into this game looking very confident. They looked like that they were they were in prime position, or they thought they were in prime position to steal this game from the Los Angeles Lakers, which they were. And, the Lakers, they got off to a really bad start. Everybody was raging at LeBron James, saying like, oh, LeBron is washed up. He should just focus on, acting in movies now. Anthony Davis, he's not a real top 5 player in the NBA. He's not a Batman. He's more of a Robin, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then the Lakers, they woke up in the second half. That was the real Lakers team that I've grown to love the last few years watching this Lakers basketball team. And LeBron started doing what I've been telling LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Montrezl Harrell, Andre Drummond, and the rest of those guys to do in this game, and that is pound the paint. In the beginning, for some reason, with an undersized Warriors team, missing Kelly Oubre and James Wiseman, the Lakers were out there taking perimeter shots and taking jump shots. They were playing right into the hands of the Golden State Warriors. What I said before the game was the Lakers needed to just feed the ball into the paint to Drummond, to Davis, to LeBron, and just bully the Warriors in the paint, because the Warriors literally have no answer whatsoever for the Lakers in the paint. They can't guard LeBron, they can't guard AD, they can't even guard Drummond in the paint because they are so severely undersized. So if you just pound the paint, you will just keep getting easy buckets and fouls, and you'll keep getting the Warriors into foul trouble. And for some reason, the Lakers didn't do that in the first half. But in the second half, I think Frank Vogel at halftime emphasized that point. And the Lakers, they started doing that. They started pounding the paint. Drummond was a beast in the paint. Harrell was a beast in the paint. Davis was a monster, whether it was getting easy baskets, slam dunks, or drawing fouls on the Warriors. And LeBron started playing bully ball in the paint. And I think that's what really turned the tide of this game, was the Lakers stopped playing into the hands of the Warriors, stopped taking jump shots from the perimeter, and started just bullying the Warriors in the paint, because they knew that the Warriors had nobody to stop them in the paint. And also, about that final shot, LeBron James is officially on Lakers Mount Rushmore, Trevor. I know when he won a championship with the Lakers and all that great stuff that he did in his second season with the Los Angeles Lakers and making the Lakers relevant. But LeBron James, I felt like, had not clinched a spot on Lakers Mount Rushmore, because you've seen there's a lot of legends that are on Lakers Mount Rushmore, whether that's Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. There's just no spot for LeBron James. Well, now one of those guys has got to go, because LeBron James, after that shot, that clutch shot where he's fading away, falling down, the shot clock is about to expire, he pulls up from 36 feet and knocks it down and gives the Lakers the victory. That was one of the most impressive shots I've ever seen in my time watching Lakers basketball. It was a great thing to watch, and LeBron James has officially clinched a spot on Lakers Mount Rushmore, and I can't wait for the Phoenix Suns, Trevor. I really can't wait for the Phoenix Suns. This was a great win by the Lakers. The Lakers need to do the same thing to the Phoenix Suns that they did to the Warriors if they want to beat the Phoenix Suns.
And Adam's going to respond to you, Isaiah. LeBron James doesn't belong there. Where LeBron James sits on that type of legacy, he kind of has to go out and win this ring being in a 7th seed. Though he is going to be climbing up an uphill battle in this year's playoffs, I think he has to pull this one off of almost like a hat trick or a magician trick to be able to pull this game off and this, championship ring off, because if he doesn't win it, it's like that shot goes on the wayside, and it loses that whole value behind this championship push that he has for the Lakers right now.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't win it this year, obviously it's going to be a shame. But then people will look at it and be like, yeah, the West is super tough with Phoenix, with you saw Golden State, even without Wiseman, even without Oubre or Clay, they're no slouch. So the Warriors, they're going to be scary to watch next season, but that's a different story for a different day. Warriors are tough. Denver, they're tough. You talk about Portland, you look at the Clippers, obviously, and Phoenix, I think they're tough as well. That's just all in the West. Now you look at the East. Brooklyn Nets, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, that stacked squad. Then you look at, Philadelphia. They're having a rejuvenation of a season with Doc Rivers at the helm. They look like a completely different squad. And Milwaukee, with Giannis and the Bucks, they could still be a major threat to LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, even though they haven't proven anything the past couple of years. So I feel like I know he beat the 73-9 Warriors, but I feel like out of, LeBron's entire career, I feel like this is his hardest road to a championship.
Yeah, and he's coming off of injury this year, so it's like it's not going to be easy for this championship. It's not like his other years where he's like playoff LeBron, comes in and dominates and gets the team through. This is probably one of his lowest seeds in the playoffs that he has been in the most recent decade. So it's going to be interesting how this one really unfolds out. But Adam really has you there, Isaiah. Please become overconfident or get overconfident again. Please, please, please. But as we continue looking at the other play-in tournaments around the NBA, we have the Boston Celtics. I wouldn't say destroying, but smashing the Washington Wizards in a game of 118-100. It seems like a lot of these games are ending in 100s at this point. It shows that no defense is being played right now in the NBA. But the key thing about this game was Jayson Tatum dropping 50 points in this game to help the Boston Celtics to clinch their 7th seed. But I'll go to Isaiah. What's your reaction to the 50 points in this game?
Jayson Tatum is a bad, bad man. A couple of years ago, on the birth of the MI6 Sports Network, one of the original podcasts that we had on this network, I came out and said that I would rather have a duo of LeBron James and Jayson Tatum over LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And then at that time, everybody was like, oh my gosh, Isaiah, why? I can't believe you said that. You're so delusional, man. You need to be drug tested immediately. This and that and this and that. Well, it looks like that I might have been onto something, Trevor, believe it or not, with my statement of saying that I would rather have LeBron James and and Jayson Tatum over LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I still can't believe Magic Johnson, the great Magic Johnson, took Lonzo Ball over Jayson Tatum. It still bugs me to this very day, Trevor. Jayson Tatum, he was flat out amazing in college. Lonzo Ball was amazing, and he was a very good point guard as well at UCLA. But looking back on that, damn, Trevor, imagine if we had Jayson Tatum over Lonzo Ball. I mean, Jayson Tatum, he idolized Kobe. He wanted to be with the Lakers. He even grew up a Lakers fan. He was dying to be with the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Lakers instead, Magic Johnson wanted to pick the feel-good Hollywood story and pick Lonzo Ball over Jayson Tatum. Imagine if we had Tatum to go along with LeBron James. That would have been such a scary combination, man. Jayson Tatum he's a bad man. He is so special, dude. He's a guy that, can beat you from anywhere on the basketball court. He's a great three-point shooter. He can, beat you with the mid-range game. He can drive to the basket and, get his way to the cup. It's a shame that the Lakers did not draft Jayson Tatum and instead picked Lonzo Ball. It's a damn shame, man, and I still can't believe it. But in terms of this game, Jayson Tatum, he's special. 50 points. This is not the first time that he's dropped 50 points. He's dropped 50 points multiple times this season. The brother's special. He can score. He's going to be a great, great player one day. Future Hall of Famer as well. But, the Celtics, I just think that I was wrong about the Celtics because I said coming into this game that that the reason why I thought they weren't going to win wasn't because that Jayson Tatum wasn't good or wasn't great or the Celtics wasn't talented. I said the Celtics weren't going to win because they didn't have any chemistry. And like I told my guy Ace on last Monday, the Celtics, they're just missing something on their team. Something just doesn't seem right with the Boston Celtics. They look like the Philadelphia 76ers of last season. And I think the Celtics might have watched that video and said, we're going to prove that guy wrong. And that's what the Celtics did. They looked like a complete different team out there on the basketball court. It looked like Jekyll and Hyde with the Boston Celtics. And, if the Celtics can play like how they did against the Wizards, against the Brooklyn Nets, I think they could give the Brooklyn Nets a serious run for their money.
Well, it'll be interesting in that series. I'll save that for which first round, matchups that we're going to be looking forward to, because that's going to be one of the matchups I'm looking forward to. But that's a little bit of a teaser. But going to some of our fan comments, Casey King going back to the Lakers, he's going to choose the Lakers in 7, but it's going to be, tough to beat the Suns in a close series. But, it could go to distance, but, Casey thinks they're going to win in 7. Shree says, wait, I thought Lonzo was a top 4 point guard, Isaiah. I think, you need to address that there for our fans. Isaiah, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm muted. But, Shree, you know that when I said that he was better than Kyrie Irving, I did not say that he was a better scorer than Kyrie Irving. I said I'm taking Lonzo Ball over Kyrie Irving because Lonzo Ball can do all the other things that a point guard is supposed to do. If you dig out a dictionary and you look up the definition of a point guard, what's the definition of a point guard? It's a guy that not only can score, but can pass the ball, can rebound the ball, and can make everybody around him great. And when you look at Kyrie Irving, Kyrie's a great scorer. He's a phenomenal scorer who's got great handles, but that's pretty much all he does. He can't defend. He is an okay rebounder, and he doesn't really pass. If you watch the Brooklyn Nets play, you see a lot of ISO ball where it's Kyrie going one-on-one against his defender and either taking him to the cup or shooting over him. That's not what a point guard is supposed to do. That's what I said. Why I said I would take Lonzo Ball over Kyrie Irving, because Lonzo makes everybody around him better. Kyrie, instead, he drives everybody's value down around. You look what Jayson Tatum was when Kyrie Irving was playing with the Boston Celtics alongside Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum looked like an average Joe. He looked like a guy that should be a 10th man on a basketball team. Kyrie Irving drives people's value down. That's why I would much rather take Lonzo Ball over Kyrie Irving.
Yep. And we have, more comments from our viewers tonight. For Adam, the Celtics proved him wrong. So, Celtics have been, been interesting this NBA postseason. Tatum and LeBron wouldn't have worked from Ishmael. That was as soon as it came in and my mouse clicked straight on it. But it would have been interesting to see. But I think I have to agree with Ishmael there. I think it probably wouldn't have worked out.
I disagree, actually. I think it would have worked because Jayson Tatum, when you see him play, he doesn't require the basketball much. He's a guy that can play off the ball. So what you could do is LeBron James, he needs the ball. He can be the point guard, the facilitator. And then Jayson Tatum, he can, catch the ball mid-post, face up, and then do his thing. So I think it would have worked out. Obviously, AD and LeBron, they got a great connection. But Jayson Tatum and LeBron, I still think would have worked out, and I think would have won a championship or two for the Los Angeles Lakers if you put the right pieces around them and Jayson Tatum develops into the player that he is right now.
Yep, and more from our viewers, from Adam. Who's a bad man? the honey bear that you held to dump the honey over yourself. Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, ladies and gentlemen, go check out the MI6 Facebook page. Is right there, most recent video besides this one tonight. So you definitely got to, go out and see that. Also, on top of that, Kimba had 29 points as well. Everybody forgets that because Tatum had a huge night. You are very right, Shree. It was a team effort, but it's like if your players, your top players are able to score, then it makes that game, a lot of a difference in that. And right now, from how the Warriors are playing, I think Casey King really describes how they're really going tonight. Higgins moment at its finest, and they're getting beat down by the Grizzlies. But continuing off in our playoff bracket, we have, the Wizards and the Pacers. It went to, I want to say, the Wizards. Am I correct, Isaiah? 114-117, and the Wizards take the 8th seed in the playoffs. I think this was like their wake-up call after somebody dropping 50 points on you. So I think, the not the Warriors, the Wizards did what they had to do, put down the...
It's been a long night, folks.
Yep. They put down the beat down on the Pacers and took care of business. But Isaiah, your thoughts of this game for the Washington Wizards with Russell Wilson. Not Russell Wilson. Wow. Wow, I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Russell Westbrook.
Is that a foreshadow, Trevor? Is that a foreshadow that Russell Wilson's going to end up in Washington with the Washington football team instead of the basketball team in DC?
I think I'm already at a bad night. I think I'm like 0 for 2 on names. It feels like, man, I'm just digging a grave at this point. But yeah, Isaiah, I'll just let you go there. I have no other comments to add.
Man, don't worry about it, Trevor. We've all had bad nights, but let me say this. First of all, my thoughts on this game is that Nate Bjorkgren is gone. Nate Bjorkgren, start packing your bags, start cleaning your office, because you're not going to be the Indiana Pacers coach come Monday. You're gone. You are gone, Nate Bjorkgren. You're absolutely gone. This guy, Nate Bjorkgren, coming into this postseason, there were stories saying like Nate Bjorkgren, the Pacers coach, he was acting like a dictator. It was either his way or the highway. And also there was another report that came out that said he was very hard to work alongside, and his assistant coaches were quitting because they just couldn't work with him. There was a lot of red flags around this guy, and his status with the Pacers was already waning, and I think that the Wizards put the nail in the coffin. And I think that Nate Bjorkgren, he will be relieved of his head coaching duties on Monday. He will not be the next he will not be the head coach of the Pacers moving forward. This game cemented it. I mean, I know the Pacers players played really bad, but Nate Bjorkgren, why would you not call timeout when the Wizards were going on that 16-0 run? Why would you wait until it was a 16-0 run and then call timeout? It makes no sense whatsoever. I get letting your players play, but there's letting your players play, and then there's being foolish. You don't wait until the game has gone from, I believe it was like a 5-point Wizards lead to a 21-point Wizards lead. You don't do that. This is why Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, Frank Vogel, they're such great coaches. It's because these guys, whenever the opposing team makes a run and they sense that the opposing team has all the momentum, they will quickly call timeout and stop the opposing team's momentum, and it kills their momentum. Nate Bjorkgren didn't do it. He waited until the Wizards' run was 16-0, which basically put the game out of reach for the Indiana Pacers, and it was a stupid move by him. And the Pacers, they just looked very unprepared. The Wizards are number 1 in the NBA in terms of playing with tempo. Well, guess what? Instead of trying to slow things down, the Indiana Pacers decided to play the tempo game along with the Washington Wizards. It was just a nightmare night for Nate Bjorkgren and his coaching staff. They looked unprepared. They made foolish foolish coaching decisions after foolish coaching decisions, and I think Nate Bjorkgren will be gone by Monday. And as far as the Washington Wizards are concerned, heck, the 76ers, they should be scared. They should be scared of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, because this Wizards team had a 0.9% chance in mid-April of making the playoffs, and they have gone on a red hot streak, and now they're into the playoffs. They are playing with house money. They're playing with nothing to lose, and Beal and Westbrook look like that they have really the chemistry has really bonded, and I think that the Wizards, I'm not saying the Wizards are going to win that series and pull off that 8-1 upset, but I do believe that the Wizards could give the Sixers a run for the money in this series and make every game close.
All righty. I think we can, start to make our transition to, what our first round prediction, or not say first round predictions, but looking at the games that we're going to be looking at of key of interest in the NBA playoffs. But I'll just read it off, the teams, who are they going to play. So for the Eastern Conference, the 76ers will play the Washington Wizards. Game 2 would be the Brooklyn Nets versus the Boston Celtics. Game 3, we have the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. And the Game 4 is the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. We'll just start with the Eastern Conference, and then we'll transition to the Western Conference. So out of the Eastern Conference games, Isaiah, which ones, you're going to tune into, and which ones you say this is going to be hotter than a hot wings challenge?
Trevor, these playoffs, I am so excited for them, man. I'm so psyched for these playoffs. I've been so excited since last Sunday when all the play-in games were announced and some of the first-round matchups were set. I was telling my guys over at the MI6 Sports Network and also Coast to Coast that I wish the playoffs started on Monday morning at 12 a.m. Pacific time. I really do, because these playoffs, I think, in terms of storyline, these might be the most storyline-rich playoffs that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. Because when you look at some of these matchups, Trevor put out the matchups in the East. You got the Knicks and the Hawks, two upstart young teams battling it out. That's going to be a great series. Then you got the 76ers and the Wizards. When people look at that on paper, they think, oh, yeah, the Sixers are probably going to clobber the Wizards. But when you look at the storylines going into that series, there's going to be a lot of drama in that series, as Russell Westbrook and Joel Embiid had kind of a beef dating back to their days with the Sixers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's going to be something very interesting to watch. And then you have two veteran coaches, Doc Rivers, Scott Brooks, coaching those teams. And then the other matchups, I believe the 2-7 Celtics versus Nets. This Celtics team, beginning of the year, a lot of people predicted them to either make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or make it to the NBA Finals. They're playing a Nets team right now that is primed to make it to the NBA Finals, and you have Kyrie going up against his former team. It's going to be so much fun to watch. And then the other matchup, I think this is going to be one of the best series of the entire playoffs, with the Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. The rematch of that second round last year, where Miami completely shut down Giannis and they sent the Bucks packing, even though the Bucks had the best record in the NBA. But that's going to be such a fun series to watch. But I would say the series that I'm looking forward to in the East, it's got to be the Heat and the Bucks, man. It's got to be that series. That's the one that sticks out the most on paper. Giannis versus Jimmy Butler, Heat versus Bucks, great defense versus great offense. Bucks looking for revenge after what happened last year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's, a couple heated altercations in this series because of what happened last season. I can't wait for that one. I'm going to go on record and make a prediction right now. I think this series goes 7 games.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because Heat's coming off of a loss from the NBA championship. Now they're the 6th seed, so they're seeking for a revenge tour, you could say, getting back, maybe showdowning the Lakers in the finals, depending how LeBron James does. So I agree with you that the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat is definitely the game to watch. I do agree with you. It could boil down to Game 6 or Game 7, depending on how things go down and what players end up getting injured during that series. So that's going to be the telltale sign. But the game that I'm curious about the most is actually the 4th and 5th seed, the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. The question is New York a fraud for being in the 4th seed? And they just got in somehow and somehow slipped in the 4th spot. And can they actually make a run in the playoffs? And if they do make this run, can they survive Brooklyn? If they're able to take down Brooklyn, they're New York's team again. Right now, they have to earn that back, and Brooklyn is New York's team. So I think this is more of a personal ego to take down Brooklyn to be New York's team again. That's why I'm going to be rooting for the Knicks in the Eastern Conference so they can take down Brooklyn. It's probably not going to happen, but I have the feeling that, the New York Knicks can do it. And I know Shree comments some of his games in his prediction. Oh, no, not Shree. Casey King. Yeah, I'm just messing up tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I deeply apologize to it, but Casey King has the Sixers in 5 over the Wizards, the Nets 6 against the Celtics, and then the Bucks in 7, and then the Knicks in 7. Isaiah, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I know the playoffs start tomorrow, so I'm just gonna, real quick give my predictions like Casey on some of these playoff series that we have. I'm not really gonna explain it in full detail. I'm just gonna explain a little bit, and then I will, move on to the next one. But in terms of, let's start with the 1-8 series, all right? We've got the Philadelphia 76ers and the Washington Wizards. I believe that this series will be much closer than people think, but I'm picking the Sixers to win it. Like I said, I can't wait to see that Westbrook and Embiid drama unfold in this series, and I hope that, we have another moment in a game where Westbrook is waving goodbye to Embiid, and Embiid's like, what are you talking about, man? But that's what I'm looking forward to in this series, more of the drama. But I'm going to go with the Sixers to win this series over the Wizards. I'm going to pick Sixers in 5, just like Casey King has the Sixers winning in 5. And then let's go to the 2-7, Boston versus Brooklyn. If Boston plays like they did against the Washington Wizards, or against, the Washington Wizards, and Jayson Tatum becomes a monster, Kemba Walker does his thing. I know they're missing Jaylen Brown, but like I said earlier, I think Boston can give Brooklyn a run for their money. I'm actually going to go with Brooklyn in 7. Believe it or not, because when you look at these two teams, I know Brooklyn's got the star power, but many of their stars have not played together in a very long time. They've only played like 15 games together this entire 72-game season. I don't think they have the chemistry right now, and chemistry is very important in the game of basketball. And the Boston Celtics, they're playing with nothing to lose. Everybody expects them to get trounced in this series. Give me the Nets in 7 in a crazy series over the Boston Celtics. I think Jayson Tatum's going to go off in this series because the Nets, their defensive rating is just awful. And then you move on to the 3-6 matchup, the Heat and the Bucks. Like I told you, Trevor, this is going to go 7 games. It's going to be one hell of a series. And Trevor, we have our first upset, man. We have our first upset. Give me the Miami Heat to beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't trust Giannis in the postseason. I think that until he shows me and wins a playoff series or goes to the NBA final, until he shows me that he can produce in the postseason, I can't pick Giannis. Give me Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, because the Miami Heat have always played the Milwaukee Bucks tough. I don't know what it is about the Milwaukee Bucks that the Miami Heat, they just match up so well with. But give me the Heat in 7 over the Milwaukee Bucks. And then the 4 and the 5th, this is going to be another interesting series. 2 upstart young teams going at it. 2 veteran head coaches going at it. Tom Thibodeau versus Nate McMillan. Trae Young versus Julius Randle. Trevor, give me those New York Knicks, one of the best defensive teams in the league. I think will beat the best offensive team in the league. Give me the Knicks over the Hawks. I'm going to go Knicks in 7.
All right. For me, looking at this, I'm going to have to agree with you guys for the first game, Philadelphia and the Wizards. I'm going to have to go, 5 games, unless there's a fluke and it ends up boiling over to 6. But I'm feeling like, the 76ers might get stunned in like game 2 or something like that, or game 1. And then they just dominate the rest of the series. Looking at Brooklyn and the Celtics, I'm feeling like this is not a game 7. This is a game 6. And Like I think it's gonna be pretty even to the point where it's like it may just be like maybe like 2-3. That's gonna put you at a game 7, but like leaning into that vibe where it's like it really comes down to the wire out of the possible window of winning of everything. So I could see like a 2-2, and then Brooklyn just takes care of business because like there's just so many elite players on Brooklyn that just shut down Boston altogether. Like, but looking at Milwaukee and the Miami Heat, I'm gonna have to agree with you in this, Isaiah. It's a game 7, and Miami is going to be able to do it because I think Giannis just doesn't have enough help to contain with a solid bench from the Miami Heat. That bench has been, it got them through a lot of that playoffs last year. So I'm thinking that bench is going to be a huge factor in this playoffs this year, and that's why I'm leaning more towards the Miami Heat and their bench to be able to get Miami Heat through this game. And then the last but not least, the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. I have 2 stories depending on how this plays out. One is going to be Atlanta. They win it in 6. And I'm thinking New York is a fraud. That's my first prediction. My second prediction is New York rallies back and wins it in 7. Those are the 2 outcomes for that series. I really don't know which one's going to be real or not because this is the 4th and 5th seed we're talking about. On paper, they should be pretty evenly matched in theory, but I really don't know. But let me go to our fans, predictions and what they have. So we have Edward. He has the, Sixers beating the Wizards, Celtics beating the Nets, the Bucks beating the Heat, and the Hawks beating the Knicks. So that's his prediction. Shree's going with the Hawks on this one, but we will, go over to some of the other predictions that Shree has. But Ishmael has the 76ers with the sweep, get the Dustbrand and Broom out. The Celtics in 7 over Brooklyn, and then you have the Bucks over the Heat in 6. You have the Hawks upset the Knicks with Seth a crying in 7.
Great comment.
And then we have Shree 76ers over Wizards in 6. The Nets over Boston in 5. Milwaukee over Miami in 7. And the Hawks over the Knicks in 6. Let's go into the Western Conference, ladies and gentlemen. The night is still young. We're 37 minutes in, but let's keep this show rolling because we're doing really good on time tonight's show. But for the Western Conference, we have the Utah Jazz in the winner of the Warriors and Grizzlies. You can't really, dictate how this game is going, but we have a feeling, me and Isaiah will just make the prediction that, the Utah Jazz will probably, win in 5 or 6, depending who comes out of this series on how that really boils down. But maybe Golden State might stun Utah, but I really don't know. Based on how the game's currently going, I think it's going to be more Memphis, but we have to wait and see how that unfolds. But after that, we have the Phoenix Suns and the Lakers, following that up with the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trail Blazers, and the LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. Out of these games, Isaiah, right now, thank you for the update from the MI6 studios. We have the Grizzlies leading 77-71. So going out of the ones I'm picking right now, before I go to Isaiah, the games I'm looking forward to is like how we have in the Easterns, the 3 and 6 seed and the 4 and 5 seed back at it again. But I'm more keen in the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers. I think that's a game that's going to go to 6 or 7 as well. But I think the Nuggets may lose because I think it's just something about Portland that is the dark horse in the West for the last couple seasons, and I think they'll do it again in this year as well. But I'll go to Isaiah to get his takes of the West before transition to our last NBA topic for tonight.
So do you want me to give like how we did it for the East, which was, give the series that we're most interested with and then give our predictions afterwards?
Yep.
All right. You can start first with the predictions, Trevor, before I go. But in terms of the series that I'm interested in seeing, like I said with the East, the West is the same thing. There's so much storyline rich series in this Western Conference playoffs. I mean, just look at if let's say the Warriors beat the Grizzlies and play the Utah Jazz. You guys remember what happened back in 2007, 2008, the We Believe team, Utah Jazz versus Warriors? I mean, that was one of the most epic series in our lifetime. So that's going to be a rematch of that. And then you have Steph Curry and the hot shooting Warriors versus the Jazz and their great defense. And then the 2-7, you got this is my dream series, Trevor. This is the series that I've been looking forward to for the last 5 seasons. I can't lose in this series, Trevor. I really can't. You've got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and my Los Angeles Lakers versus my guy, Devin Booker, making his first playoff appearance after you, Shree, and everybody else was like, oh, Devin Booker, he's not a top 10 player, he sucks, and all that stuff. Devin Booker silenced all of his haters, he silenced all of his critics, and he made the playoffs as the number 2 seed with the Phoenix Suns, and they snapped a long playoff drought. Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns versus my Los Angeles Lakers. I can't lose, Trevor, because if Devin Booker balls out and my Lakers win, I'm happy. But if my Lakers lose and Devin Booker wins, I'm still happy because Devin Booker will have silenced his haters once again. So I can't lose either way in this series. And then the 3-6 matchup, I believe, was – what was the 3-6 matchup, Trevor?
3-6 matchup was the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers.
All right, the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trailblazers.
Before you get to that, Casey King wants to make a correction about, the upset that Isaiah was talking about. It was in 2007. So, a quick update on that. But
the upset was against the Mavericks, but then the second round series, though, was really hostile because you had Andre Kirilenko with that dunk. I believe, no, it was Baron Davis with the dunk over AK-47, and Warriors fans still cannot shut up about that dunk, but that's a different story for a different day. But going into the 3-6, you got the Blazers against the Nuggets. This is a rematch of the 2019 Western Conference second round. It was a great series, went 7 games, and there was a lot of trash talking going on between Enes Kanter, who's back on the Blazers, and Nuggets players. So I expect the same intensity in that series. And then the 4-5 matchup, I think it's the Clippers and the Mavericks. We had that playoff matchup in the bubble last year. Luka versus Kawhi. Last year with all that trash talk going on, and these two teams, they had a intense series. There was a lot of confrontations involved in that series. I think it's going to be the same. When I look at these playoffs or these Western Conference playoffs, there's really 2 series that really intrigues me. Besides Lakers and Suns, it's definitely got to be Mavericks and Clippers, Luka versus Kawhi and Paul George, and it's going to get ugly. There's going to be a lot of trash talking going on, Trevor, in that series, and I expect that series. If Kristaps Porzingis plays like the Kristaps Porzingis from his New York Knicks days and the guy that Dallas thought that they were getting when they traded for him, I think the Mavericks could upset the Clippers in that series because they took them to 6 games last season, and Porzingis was out for a couple of games. So this could be an upset to watch for. And then you have the Nuggets and Trailblazers. I think that series could go either way, and I think that series definitely will go 7 games. But Trevor, those are the series that I'm looking forward to besides the Lakers and Suns. But I'll turn it over to you so you can make your predictions before I make mine.
I'll speed run through my predictions so keep tonight's shows rolling through. So looking at Utah and then the winner of those, I will give 2. So the Utah Jazz, if they play Memphis, I say Utah wins it in 5. But I'm going off of Shree's a little bit when we'll show his laters. I will have to say if Utah plays Golden State, I could see that going to a Game 7, but Utah pulling that out. Next, Phoenix Suns and the Lakers, I'm going to say Lakers in 6. I think it's just LeBron James. When he gets into those, elimination games, he just takes it to a level of another notch. And none of those Phoenix Suns players have ever experienced that before, probably besides Chris Paul. But that's just going to be a whole new experience for those players. But if they are able to hang in there and pull it out like the Phoenix Suns can pull something out of that, then, they're going to have really high inflated egos and probably fall to a trap. series in the next round. But I'm thinking Lakers in 6 on that. For the Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trail Blazers, I'm saying this is in 7. And I'm going to probably have to say it's Denver unless it's a freakish last 3-pointer shot that goes in the favor of the Portland Trail Blazers. But this game's going to go with 7 for the Nuggets. And then looking at the 4th and 5th spot, I'm feeling Kawhi, but this is going to be in, I want to say, 6 or 7. I can't really pick a number. But I'm thinking it's going to be, Clippers in 6, I'm going to go with.
Wow, so you go Clippers in 6 then?
Yes.
All right. My turn. And you guys know that there's going to be a lot of crazy predictions coming out. So let's start with the 1 versus 8. Utah versus the winner of Memphis and Golden State. If it's Memphis, I think Utah wins it in 5. If it's Golden State, I could see Utah winning it in 6. But the Warriors, if Klay Thompson was healthy, this would be a different story. But Klay Thompson is not healthy. He's hurt. Wiseman's hurt. Oubre's not going to be playing. Damian Lee, I believe he's in the COVID protocol. So the Warriors are just missing too many pieces to be able to legitimately compete with the Utah Jazz. So I'm going to go with the Jazz in 6. Lakers and Suns, like I said earlier, I can't lose. What I'm hoping for, Trevor, is Devin Booker scores 40-plus points in each game. Heck, we won't even let's leave Devin Booker wide open so he can get his buckets and he can get his 50 points a game, and the Lakers can still win by 20. That's my dream, Trevor. I'm hoping that Devin Booker balls out, but Lakers still win. I think the Lakers are going to win because, like I said earlier, the Phoenix Suns, the Lakers have a massive advantage over them in the paint. Andre Drummond, Anthony Davis, LeBron James can bully his way into the paint, Montrezl Harrell as well. Just don't see the Phoenix Suns having the front court to stop that Lakers front court. The Phoenix Suns, I think they're going to go off in the backcourt with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker is going to have a tremendous series. But once again, it's going to be the front court that will be the issue for the Phoenix Suns. LeBron's going to bully his way in the paint against the Suns. Davis is going to have a monster series. I just don't see anybody on the Suns stopping them. Give me the Lakers in 5 over the Phoenix Suns. I'm going to go Lakers in 5 because I just think there will be one game where Devin Booker just, busts out and scores like 50 points a game in one of those games, and it will actually be enough. Because you've seen, Trevor, that the Lakers, sometimes in the playoffs, when they're up like 3-0 or 3-1, they tend to take a game off, like we saw last year in the bubbles. I think it's going to be the same thing. Lakers in 5. Nuggets and Trailblazers. Trevor, if Jamal Murray was healthy, I would be picking the Nuggets. But Jamal Murray isn't healthy. He's out with the torn ACL, and that's going to be a huge issue for the Denver Nuggets. You have great backcourt, CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, versus a great front court, Aaron Gordon, JaVale McGee, Nikola Jokic, and the rest of those guys. Also Nurkic versus his former team. Give me the Portland Trailblazers to pull off the upset over the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. I think each game will be close. Each game will go down to the wire, but give me the Portland Trailblazers to upset the Denver Nuggets in 7. I think Dame's going to have a monster series in this series. And then the final series, the 4 and the 5th, the matchup that I'm looking so forward to, you've got the Clippers against the Dallas Mavericks, Luka versus Kawhi, heated series last year. Trevor, I'm going to go, guess what? I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. Give me the Dallas Mavericks in 7 over Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers. I think Kristaps Porzingis, he's the biggest X factor in this series. If he can get going, look like the Porzingis from the Knicks before injuries, the Clippers won't be able to stop him because they have nobody in their front court that is competent enough to be able to stop Porzingis. But that's only if Porzingis plays well. I believe he will play well, and I believe with Luka being the dangerous player that he is, Clippers, they have too much on their hands. They won't be able to stop him. Give me the Mavericks in 7 over the Clippers.
All righty, I'll go to some of our fans' comments for tonight's picks. Let me see where we got to start in our fans' comments. With Casey King, he says in the West, he's got, the Jazz, if they play the Grizzlies in 5, And then we have the Jazz if they play the Warriors in 7. We have the Lakers over the Suns in 7. You have the Blazers upsetting the Nuggets in 7, and the Clippers over the Mavericks. I think we have Edward. He has the Suns will beat the Lakers, the Nuggets will beat the Trailblazers, and the Mavericks will beat the Clippers. And he has also the Warriors got the Jazz.
Time out. So he's picking a 1-8 upset, and he's picking a 2-7 upset as well.
No, he has the two winning. So that's not an upset.
The 8 beating the 1 and the 7 beating the 2.
No, he has the 2 winning.
Oh, he's got the 2. Oh yeah, the Suns are the 2. My bad.
Yeah. You get him flipped because you think your Lakers are that good. But for Shree,
it's not a regular year, Trevor.
Yeah, for Shree, he has the game in 6 for Utah. For the Lakers in 7, he has Portland over Denver in 7 and the Clippers in 6. So obviously before we go on to wrap up to see how the game's going, right now the Grizzlies lead the Warriors 78-73 early in the 4th. So we'll keep you up to date on how that really unfolds for the rest of the game. Maybe we'll give you a final score by the end of the show. I don't really know. But looking at the LaMelo Ball topic, known by Isaiah because that's one of his favorite players, having that wrist injury wasn't really 100%, did it make sense for them to play him in this, playoff style elimination game when, you could, rested him and give yourself a better chance in the playoffs, get some better assets. So maybe you become a 5th seed or a 4th seed next year or even a 6th seed. Was it really worth the risk? In my opinion, no. He has a young career and you're going to try to build a team around him. So it's all right if you don't make the playoffs this year. It'd be cool that you made it, but what's the extent for your franchise piece if he can't really shoot the ball right next season? But I'll go to Isaiah to let him get on your takes as, we try to bring this NBA topic to a close because we've been on it for almost an hour now.
I know, man. We had a lot of NBA topics to discuss. But by the way, Stephen Curry just hit a 3 and he got fouled, and it's now 80-77 with 9 minutes left in the 4th quarter. So it's going to be a great game, and it will go down to the wire. But about this LaMelo Ball topic, Trevor, I got to agree with you. I think that gosh, my entire brain is just fried right now, just like yours, Trevor. I just said the Grizzlies, but the Charlotte Hornets, the team that didn't show up on Tuesday in their play-in game, made me have to dump honey all over myself. That team, I thought they made a very stupid decision because, like you said, Trevor, the Hornets are they were slated to be in the 9-10 play-in game. You would have to win 2 games to be able to get in to the playoffs, and Gordon Hayward wasn't going to play, and I think there was one more key piece that was missing in that game. And I just think, Charlotte, you've had a great season. You've had a really great season. You've eclipsed all expectations that were set for you guys before the season. It's been a very successful season for you. Why risk injuring LaMelo Ball even more? Because, Trevor, you and I both know that these wrist injuries, especially ones that you're just coming off surgery for and it's, healing, but it hasn't fully healed yet, something could happen. He could get hit on the wrist, he could, hit the wrist, could hit the hardwood floor, and then LaMelo Ball, that wrist would get worse and worse and worse. So he's got a very young career ahead of him. You've eclipsed all expectations this season. Why would you try to rush him back to try to get into the postseason when, you don't really have that good of a shot to get into the postseason? Because even if you had beaten Indiana, you would have had to beat either Boston or Washington to be able to get into the playoffs. And I just didn't think that they were going to get into the playoffs and beat Boston or Washington to be able to advance. So I thought that that was a terrible decision by the Charlotte Hornets because this guy has a young, great career ahead of him, and I just don't know why you would want to risk that, potential 10, 15-year long career over trying to make the playoffs this year. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, you said it like nail on the head on the coffin, but I think we're ready to bounce off to another topic tonight. Looking at the world of the NFL, the fate of Julio Jones and where, he could end up being traded to. I know, Isaiah, you want him to go to your glorious 49ers, but before I get to let you, go on your 49ers tangent, I'm not going to be going off to the teams that we have listed, like the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Titans. But I think the team that really wants to make an impact that I talked to you guys on the phone call with was the Cleveland Browns. And they have something to give up because it's like Odell Beckham hasn't been really productive on Cleveland. And if you want to get another star wide receiver, I think it's pretty much a fair trade with Atlanta. Maybe give up a 6th-round draft pick on top of that to make it enticing. But you get a good, healthy Julio Jones, and now you're adding it on with your Nick Chubb and Jarvis Landry. It's going to be an elite squad with Cleveland. They're built. They already have a strong, solid defense. Now you're giving Baker Mayfield a good, deep wide receiver in Julio Jones. Now you have a team that's actually AFC Championship material since now they have that playoff experience now. So I think that would be a good trade if Cleveland's willing to take that risk and get rid of OBJ and get a good asset out of it. But, I'll go to Isaiah and what he thinks, the fate of Julio Jones should be.
Julio Jones, let me tell you, you will look so good in red and gold, catching passes from Trey Lance in the near future. I mean, imagine a core of offensive weapons, Trevor, of Julio Jones, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, not to mention that great running game. And you're getting plays schemed up for them by Kyle Shanahan, one of the brightest offensive masterminds in the NFL. I mean, I cannot think of a better thing than that. But Trevor, I'm going to surprise you. I don't believe that the best fit will be San Francisco, because if he does end up in San Francisco, the 49ers will not have any money to sign Nick Bosa, Fred Warner to extensions, and you absolutely have to lock up those cornerstones on your team. So even though I want Julio Jones on the 49ers, and I think he would be a luxury for the 49ers, and he will make our offense with Trey Lance just unstoppable, you have to prioritize Bosa and Warner over Julio Jones. But so I would say I like your Cleveland Browns idea, Trevor. Imagine Julio Jones with Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, that running game.
No, I said they were getting rid of OBJ in return for it.
All right, they'll get rid of OBJ, and then you have Julio Jones with Jarvis Landry and the rest of the guys that they got there. I think they could legitimately supplant Kansas City in the AFC. But when you look at this, where Julio Jones should land, you know what? I'm going to say, Trevor, I'm going to say the Raiders. I'm going to say the Raiders because the Raiders have a lot of cap space. John Gruden needs to win now. If he doesn't get to the playoffs this season, he is going to be on the hot seat next season, and he has a lot of pressure right now. I know the defense is not great, but imagine Julio Jones catching passes from Derek Carr with Josh Jacobs in the backfield. The Raiders, I think, and also you add him to Henry Ruggs, who I think he would be great to take the pressure off, and he would be able to mentor Henry Ruggs, who had a lackluster rookie season. I think it would be great for the Raiders to add Julio Jones and finally give Derek Carr a legitimate number one receiver, which they haven't had since Amari Cooper was traded to Dallas.
Yep. I guess you could also say the Dallas Cowboys could try to make this steal and just add that on top of their, wide receiving core that's already stacked. Because, you had CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, you have Ezekiel Elliott. Now, if you had Julio Jones, at that point, the Cowboys should go out and win a Super Bowl. If they didn't do that, then there's something wrong with that organization and drastic change needs to be met. But I think
But please, John Lynch, if you could somehow, some way fit Julio Jones in the 49ers budget and you still have enough money to sign Bosa to an extension, sign Warner to an extension, sign all the valuable defensive guys on to new contracts, Bring Julio Jones to San Francisco. I would absolutely love it to see Julio Jones with George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk in that running game, catching passes from Trey Lance. So please do it if you can, but don't sacrifice the future for Julio Jones.
Like the Patriots seem like a good fit as well, but it's like I have a feeling that Julio Jones wants to win a Super Bowl. So going to the teams that have the highest, chance of getting there, teams that were close to the Super Bowl, I shouldn't say close to the Super Bowl, but got to the playoffs are probably on top of his list. Like another one that I could see, like a team trying to, make some leaps and bounds, I would say the Cardinals. I understand they're in the NFC. I don't think, the Falcons would do something like that. That's why I was going with more of like the Cleveland Browns in my pick. But if the Cardinals want another stacked wide receiver, you have DeAndre Hopkins, and now you add Julio Jones to that. That's another good wide receiver core with, Kyle Murray throwing them the ball. And then the other option would be New England, since they have a lot of salary cap space and, they can, take that hit if they want to sign Julio Jones. But I'll go back to you, Isaiah.
The problem with the Cardinals, however, Trevor, is that they already got A.J. Green. They have Christian Kirk. They have DeAndre Hopkins. I just think they're already too stacked at wide receiver. Like, obviously, if you have the opportunity to get a Julio Jones type of player, you will, cut whoever it is in your wide receiving room and bring in Julio Jones in a second. But I just don't think they have the salary cap space. I just don't think that they have the room in the wide receiving room to bring in a guy in Julio Jones to make their offense even more dynamic than it already is. I like the idea, though, but I just don't think they have like the necessary cap space to make it happen. But as far as New England, you bring up a good point, Trevor, and I read up an article today where Julio Jones reportedly has been telling folks out there that he wants to play with Cam Newton in New England. My first thought of that was, why would you want to play with Cam Newton? The guy, even though I think Cam Newton's a good quarterback, he cannot throw the football. He's past his prime, too many injuries. But imagine Mac Jones with Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and then Julio Jones. The Patriots, they might have a top 3 offense next year in the AFC if Bill Belichick could get that to work.
Yeah, it's like the mastermind of Belichick, and I was talking with Shree. You can't really compare it to a Randy Moss type of player, but like having that elite wide receiver on your team that has, I wouldn't say similar caliber, but like a top wide receiver back in his day. But obviously Randy Moss was a different animal, but Julio Jones can definitely put up numbers if the ball gets to his hand. So I think, Belichick knows how to execute that because he, had Randy Moss, and he's going to probably say, well, this is probably similar to Randy Moss, and I'll probably do the same exact things, and we'll see what happens, and, maybe it might work out.
And I think it would be good for Mac Jones, too, because imagine your rookie year. You don't really have to do too much if you have good weapons around you, like a Julio Jones, like a Nelson Aguilar, like a Kendrick Bourne. You could just get the ball to your playmakers and let your playmakers make plays. You don't have to force things, and I think that would be good for Mac Jones in his rookie year.
Yep, I'll go to some of our viewers' comments. Casey King, he's going to agree with me. He's going to go Julio Jones to the Browns as well. Yeah, it's very enticing because the Browns can trade and get something positive out of like getting rid of a star player. So I think, maybe Atlanta may take it, but they may say you're going to have to offer something up in return. So if the Browns are saying this is the year for the Super Bowl, then maybe it's fair enough to say we'll throw away, next year's draft pick and something. I don't know. But he's saying no, he's not going to go with your Isaiah Niners. Wow. Yeah, it's
a pipe dream.
It's just going to go like that. But I'll let you go to the MLB segment.
All right, folks. So moving on to our MLB topic, the San Francisco Giants last night routed the Cincinnati Reds by a final score of 19-4. That's right, Trevor. 19-4. The Giants beat the Cincinnati Reds. And folks, the Giants right now are 12 games over 500. They are 28-16. They are first in the National League West. Who could have ever seen this coming this season under manager Gabe Kapler and their new front office with Farhan Zaidi and Scott Harris leading that? But the Giants, who were picked to be in last place this season by a lot of people, are now first place in the National League West. They have one of the best records in all of baseball, and their offense is highly prolific. Is it time or is the San Francisco Giants for real after just 44 games? Trevor, you could answer this if you want later on, but I'm going to say they are. I'm going to say they are because we saw this at the end of last season where the Giants, their hitters got hot. They had a new offensive approach with a new coaching staff that led to the San Francisco Giants. By the way, go off the wall. Yes, Sean Murphy. Good. Sorry about that, folks. I'm watching the A's game right now. But the San Francisco Giants, they are for real. You know, they do have the lineup with guys like Brandon Crawford having a resurgence, Buster Posey having a resurgence, Dickerson, he's playing up to the guy that everybody hyped up when he was in San Diego. You also have other guys like, you know, Donovan Solano, Wilmer Flores making impacts. And also their pitching staff has actually held up with Cueto, with Gosman, you know, reinventing himself as a starting pitcher. So I think the Giants are for real. The Giants right now, I think they have played a little bit of a soft schedule. We'll see what happens when they have to play teams like the Dodgers and other teams like that. But they have played the Padres well this season. I think the Giants are for real, and I think that they are a threat in the National League West, which is amazing given the fact that they have a lot of misfits on their team and a lot of guys that you would be like, wow, they're actually performing like this season. So the Giants are for real. Credit goes to Gabe Kapler. He's done an outstanding job as the Giants manager, and I can't wait to see what the Giants do this for the rest of the season. By the way, sorry for my outburst about the A's. I got a little bit excited there seeing Sean Murphy hit a double off the wall.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's now move on to our Power 5.
Персональный спутник.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's Power 5 segment is top 5 ice cream flavors in honor for Memorial Day coming up. Since the weather is getting a little bit warmer in the United States, we're going to have our Power 5 for the type of ice creams that you should, go out and get on this, Memorial Day weekend that is coming up in about, in 2 weeks now? But I'll go to Isaiah. What is your top 5 ice cream flavors?
Wow, I had to take at least 20, 30 minutes to do this list, believe it or not, this afternoon, because there's a lot of ice cream flavors. There really is. And it's really hard to pare them down into a top 5. So I'm going to start with a couple of honorable mentions. One honorable mention, strawberry. Simple. I like the strawberry ice cream that has like real strawberry fruits inside of it. It's really good. And then the other one, you got to go with the OG, right, Trevor? Vanilla, you have to go with that. Any vanilla ice cream is just really, really good. So that's my honorable mentions. Let's start with my top 5. Number 5, folks, I'm going to go with chocolate. And I really wanted to put this number 1, but this is an OG. I love chocolate ice cream. Anytime you get it from Haagen-Dazs or whomever like ice cream company you get it from, any chocolate ice cream is just super good, especially like a guy like me who loves anything chocolate. So I'm going to go with chocolate as my number 5. Number 4 on my list, I'm going to actually go with, I'm going to go, Trevor, with cappuccino. And, it's.
Wow, okay.
Trevor's giving me that face right now. It's like, what?
I wasn't expecting that one, but all righty.
Cappuccino, because, I'm a guy that loves coffee. So, coffee ice cream, cappuccino, So much better. Number 3 on my list, it's got to be the banana split. Am I right, Trevor?
Okay,
The banana split.
that's fair.
The banana split is really good, and I've had banana splits where I don't know if you've had it like this, Trevor, but they put it in like they have 2 bananas on the side with the
Mhm.
banana split ice cream in the middle, and I think they also have like whipped cream frosting there too. So it's that right there is super good. Really recommend you guys all to go and try that out. The number 2 on my list, like I said earlier, I'm a coffee guy. Kona coffee ice cream. Kona coffee ice cream. You can get this. I forgot what the name of the ice cream parlor you can get it at, but it's somewhere in Hawaii. They make the best Kona coffee ice cream. It is freshly churned. They make it out of real Kona coffee beans. So really recommend you guys to go try that out the next time you guys are in Hawaii. And then number 1 on my list, Trevor, I gotta go with fudge brownie. Fudge brownie from Ben and Jerry's is so good. They actually have little brownie bits in the ice cream, which makes it even better. That's my list, Trevor. Fudge brownie. Go get it, folks, at Ben and Jerry's.
All right, Isaiah, it seems like you forgot the one that everyone loves, and it's not even on your list, and I'm disappointed in it. But I'll start off with mine. All right, so in the 5th spot, ladies and gentlemen, I have vanilla. It's a classic. You can't leave vanilla off the list. That's like also like chocolate. So depending on the person, that's where it sits on this list. Number 4, birthday cake. Birthday cake is a good selection. It's like celebrating your birthday when it's not even your birthday. That's why I have it on the 4th spot. Number 3, we have chocolate chip. What a beauty. It's like you having a cookie, but it's a frozen cookie. But to continue off of this cookie rant, number 2, we have cookie dough ice cream. Another solid staple. Wonderful. It tastes great. Everyone loves cookie dough ice cream. And number 1, I think MI6 really hits it home for us. The people in our studios really know it. You forgot cookies and cream. Don't worry, MI6 studios. I have put cookies and cream as my number 1 in my selection.
Let me explain. There's
Alrighty.
just too many ice cream flavors, folks. There's like a gazillion ice cream flavors, and it's so hard to pare that down into a top 5. So I'm sorry for missing cookies and cream. Yes, I do love cookies and cream. The best cookies and cream I've had was at this ice cream store named it's like Moo's ice cream. I don't know if that's the exact name, but it's really good ice cream. They actually put real Oreo crumbs on top of it, which makes it even better. So I do love cookies and cream, but I'm going to have to put it probably 6th on my list. It barely missed the list, though.
You put it 6? How dare you disrespect cookies and cream? I can't believe the next time, if I make it a trip out to San Francisco, I will personally buy you cookies and cream, and you will eat it. And when the next time I make a venture out to, San Francisco, I'll make sure you have one and make you improve that on your list. But I understand Edward, put his in, his Power 5 is, I guess, Neapolitan, and then you have vanilla birthday cake, cookies and cream, and mint chocolate chip. Casey King's is vanilla, mint, chocolate chip, cookies and cream, and caramel. I guess Paralines? No, Paralines? I have no idea. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am just struggling tonight on tonight's show. Honorable mentions, we have chocolate. Oh, man, guys, I'm done. Do
you want me to read it?
Yeah, yes, please read it for me.
Pistachios, orange cream, and birthday cake. This is honorable mentions.
Yes, it seems like MI6 is trying to figure out how Edward's, one was pronounced. So, like, I guess how would you pronounce like his 5th one?
You mean or Edwards?
Yes.
I've always I don't know. I've always had the same feeling where I've always thought it was pronounced Napoleon, not Neapolitan. But that might be just me, Trevor.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hey, if you guys, in the comment section, can tell us how you guys pronounce, the Napoleon ice cream, which is the one that has vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate, we would really appreciate it. Comment down below of how you guys pronounce it and try to correct us if that makes any sense.
Yep. And as you can see, on No BS, we stumble a lot, but that's it's No BS at this point. It's the show.
Exactly.
It's the show. Let's move on to our final thoughts. Well, our program is coming to an end, Isaiah. I know we have some of our polls. I'll let you hit those in your final thoughts.
All right. By the way, Trevor, did you finish your top 5? Because I only heard like
Yeah, I finished my top 5. Yeah, I'll recap mine. I have 5 as vanilla, 4 is birthday cake, 3 is chocolate chip, 2 is cookie dough, and number 1 is cookies and cream.
Oh, okay. Cookies and cream was your number 1. I'm very disappointed in you,
Oh my
Trevor.
goodness. Here we go. I'm getting a lecture now.
How could you forget chocolate, my friend? Come on, the old.
I grew up as a vanilla guy. All right, I grew up as vanilla.
You grew up. Wait, what? You grew up as a vanilla guy?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of chocolate, so I was like,
what?
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of it. I'm like when you grew up, it was like there was 2 factions before you explored out to other flavors. It was either vanilla or chocolate or the swirl, where it's like the mix of the 2. Those were the only 3 factions when you started out as a child, and then you ventured off to new flavors because you went to an ice cream shop and you saw there's more than just these 3 types of flavors or a combination. So, yes, I started out as a vanilla child.
I think like. You might be the first person that I know that has been a vanilla fan over chocolate. But that's okay, Trevor. That's okay. But before I get into my final thoughts, just want to thank all of our viewers for tuning in tonight. Not only to this episode, but to me, pouring honey all over myself. I want to thank.
How's your hair doing, by the way?
Oh, it's doing much better, guys. Folks, I don't know if you guys know, but honey is actually surprisingly good for your hair. I don't know, like, how's that possible? But people in the old days used honey as shampoo before there was shampoo to wash their hair. But it came off, it came off well, Trevor. I don't have to cut my hair and shave my head now because it's stuck to my head. But I want to thank Casey King. Want to thank Edward Lee. Also want to thank Shri as well as Ishmael, and also Shardul Gupta and Adam Barber, my guy. Can't wait to tune in on Monday to Trevor Yu, Ace, and Loro on Wild Sports Talk. Is going to do a great job and crush that episode. I also want to thank. I think we had a couple more comments that flooded in from Stephen Wang. Yes, Stephen Wang from the MI6 Sports Network, as well as Cal. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. But my final thoughts, Trevor, is that these are going to be a great playoffs. I'm looking forward to these playoffs. Every single series, my eyes are going to be glued to the TV. Every second of it, it's going to be great. Lakers, Suns, Clippers, Mavericks, Knicks, Hawks, Celtics, Nets, Heat, Bucks. I mean, there's just so much storyline in this series, and I would not be surprised if 6 of the 8 NBA playoff series goes the distance, because there's just a lot of juicy matchups in these NBA playoffs. Looking so forward to it. In terms of the MI6 hot takes extravaganza polls are concerned, we had a couple of polls out on Twitter. We had one of the polls, Furman's take of the Raiders winning the AFC West defeated Ryan's moment where he melted down on our NBA draft show. Cavs break Ryan. Furman moves on to the Sweet 16. And also, there was another poll out, and that was Trevor's take of Baker Mayfield wins MVP versus
oh my goodness,
my moment of me proclaiming that I don't fear Nick Saban before the Alabama-Georgia game. And Trevor, I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't fear Saban defeats Baker, wins MVP, and that advances to the Sweet 16. But we're going to have a couple of more polls up after. Go ahead, Trevor.
Looking at the Warriors game, is coming down to the wire the last, I would say, 13 seconds. The score is 99-99. So I guess we'll wait for the final second to see what happens. But it seems like there's I want to say, offensive foul. I think Warriors get the ball back. So, I'll let you continue on to that, and I'll give you a final update what ends up happening.
Actually, to be honest with you, while during this show, I've been actually watching it on my computer. So I'm watching it right now as we speak. But yeah, MI6 Hot Takes Extravaganza poll. We have, I believe, a couple of polls that are going to be coming up.
It's overtime.
Overtime. Wow.
Yes, 99-99 into regulation.
Ooh, that's going to be good. So wow, what a game, man. Warriors, Grizzlies. This is why the NBA has the play-in tournament. It's such a great idea. Hopefully the NBA keeps this play-in tournament. But like I was saying, our MI6 Hot Takes Extravaganza, we will have 2 more posts coming up, and make sure you guys vote on it on Twitter. We'll try to get it on Instagram, but right now we're still working things out on Instagram, but make sure you guys check it out. And don't forget, folks, if you guys did not hear the news, Callan McClurg is coming back to the MI6 Sports Network. Our Michael Jordan is walking through the tunnel once again. Callan McClurg is coming back to MI6. The Sports Lounge will be back, and it will be back on Tuesday. I believe it's May 25th is when the Sports Lounge will come back. So looking forward to that. And also, guys, check out the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network with Ace, Brandon Herrera, and the rest of the guys on that network. They do a fabulous job on that network. You can check out cooking shows, trivia shows, sports shows, all of that stuff, even movie shows on that network. And check out on Sunday, because your boy is going to be defending his Jeopardy title on that show, on the trivia show at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure you guys go check that out.
Yep. Casey King has a question for you, Isaiah, before I run to my final thoughts. Is there going to be a night shift this weekend?
There will be a night shift this weekend. We're hoping to do it on Saturday, tomorrow night, maybe at like 10 p.m. Pacific. But right now the times are still to be determined. Make sure you stay tuned and, keep looking at our MI6 Sports Network Facebook page. Look at my Facebook timeline for the latest updates and developments.
All righty. But, yep, for my final takes, it's been a fantastic show being back on No BS. No BS is going, through its wonderful season. I guess you could say we're almost at mid-season compared to the start of the year. So 14 episodes in, life is great for us from, things are getting back to normal. So, our episodes are not going to be always consistent because we're flexible towards the A schedule and Isaiah's work schedule. So we'll do our best when we have time, go on when me and Isaiah are back on things and our schedule's a little bit better. Make sure, we are returning you guys with great sports context, more mishaps, bad pronunciations, you name it. No BS is the home of that. And I hope you all enjoy tonight's show. But that will do it for us on tonight's show of No BS. Everyone take care, enjoy your weekend, and, we'll see you all Monday with Wild Sports Talk. I guess not. Well, we still have the night shift over the weekend. So see you all then. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. 3-6, mafia.
Yeah. Whoa, hey, yeah. Whoa,
Say what?
hey, whoa,
3-6, mafia.
hey, whoa,
It's going down.
whoa, hey,
Y'all know what time it is.
whoa, hey,
We ain't playing with you. In the club, in the street.